Hi there, and welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Miguel Martinez Juarez, Miguel Gym Time Martinez Juarez. Today I'm going to go over the book, The Edinburgh Lectures on Mental Science, Chapter 2, The Higher Mode of Intelligence Controls the Lower. Okay, so let's get right into it. The higher mode of intelligence controls the lower. How does this work? Okay, let's see if I could go up onto my face because, there we go. My phone was locking in on my chest for some reason. All right, so let's get to it. Spirit is spirit's quality is intelligence. So you can use intelligence and spirit synonymously, okay? Because spirit's quality is intelligence. And matter is form. All right? Matter is form. Matter is the physical stuff. Now, let's go from the beginning of what Thomas Troward is explaining. He explains the creation of Earth and the universe. He says, based off the information we know, is that there is a candlescent nebula everywhere where a solar system is created, and that turns into a sun, and that turns into a planet. Incandescent nebula. Incandescent means light. Nebula means a gas, okay? A non-physical thing. Now, there is an intelligence that we can see in all things. The way the sun is built, the way the solar system is built, the way we discover new laws of nature. They were already there. We're just there to find them, okay? To rediscover them, because there's an intelligence that's creating everything, okay? And that intelligence is in everything that has been formed. And through evolution, what we call the law of averages, through evolution and through the law of averages, certain species die off, certain species live on, and the higher the intelligence, the lower the law of averages. Human beings, for example, the smarter we are, the less amount of people are dying. Okay, because we take a look at how fish. He gives these examples: human beings and fish. Fish, there's so many fish that are born, but because through the law of averages, through their death of being eaten and just errors and accidents and mistakes, there's a certain amount that stay alive, but there's a large amount that die. For human beings, there is a lower rate of accidents and death in comparison to fish. The ratios are just not as astronomical with human beings, right? He gives an example that if no fish would die, the ocean would be filled with they would be filled with fish, but it's not the way it works. Okay, I just want to put marshmallow in there. All right, the smarter, the more intelligent the species, the race, okay, the less it uses the law of averages, and the higher you have free will, okay? And the highest form of intelligence is this free will, not working automatically. And I talked about this in the last video in chapter 1. You have volition, which is your own will, your self autonomy to decide what you want, okay? And this intelligence allows you to see the law of life, the law of living, the law of evolution, okay? That, life is always evolving, is growing, there's a law of averages, and everything is always getting better and better and better and increasing in its intelligence. Now, how does the higher mode of intelligence control the lower? Well, spirit is in everything, and it creates the forms of whatever species there is, or whatever form there is. It creates it. Yeah, that form itself is not just spirit itself, it's part of the whole thing. And in reflecting on this information, you can really connect to everything that is. Because the person who doesn't have this information, they see as everything outside of them as separate. The ego and separate from the ego. Person who understands this information understands that, okay, I have an ego, everything else is the alter ego. It's a part of me. It's the same. It's spirit. It's that intelligence that molds my body and keeps my body in its shape. It's atoms. Everything is made out of atoms, which also the intelligence controls and moves. So it continues in that energy and rotation, that energy rotation that we don't know what controls it, which is we would say this intelligence, this abstract intelligence. We don't know where it comes from, but it's in everything and everyone, be it form or be it a living, moving form, intellectual form. Again, clarify, spirits and everything. Everything is moving. Nothing is like dead or non-moving. Everything is always moving. Atoms are always moving with this energy. That's what keeps its form and its shape. And that is why intelligence has, or spirit's quality is intelligence, is the higher form, the highest form that controls the lower. Okay, so I'm gonna repeat the title. The higher modes of intelligence controls the lower forms of intelligence. A form is also intelligent. It has the universal spirit, the universal mind in it. That's why it has its fucking form. Okay, that's why it has its form. But the higher mode controls it. You need to have some type of volition. The universal mind has its own volition that's creating it on a larger scale. And we have our individualized volition. Now, if we have this high level of intelligence, just like the universal mind does, just as spirit does, that means we can control the lower modes. Okay? We can control the lower modes. This is the message that he's saying, that he's sharing. Intelligence, volition, creates. Now, we have intelligence, we have volition, we can create. All right? That's what he's sharing in this chapter. It's very, very intricate the way he teaches it. It's very challenging. At least for me, it was very challenging. I think that's all I'm going to share. Okay? Because I don't want to read the quotes as I've done in the past because I don't want to get you guys confused. Yeah, life principle, intelligence, operates by law of evolution. Intelligence controls matter. It creates the form. It sustains the form. Just like what you say, what you focus on is what you get. That's intelligence focusing on a form. What you focus on is what you get. Okay? That means intelligence creates form. Again, with the chapter, the title, these quotes, the higher mode of intelligence controls the lower mode of intelligence. The higher mode of intelligence controls the lower mode of intelligence. You got to be kind of smart for this shit. You can't be an idiot to understand how to manifest. What you focus on is what you get. Okay. What you focus on is what you get. Now, Thomas Troward teaches that in this chapter by going through the creation of the universe. Okay, the creation of the universe. And then before that, talking about spirit and matter and how we can identify living spirit through intelligence, the levels of intelligence. A goldfish has a lower level of intelligence than a dog. You know, the dog has a lower intelligence than a human being. Okay? Human being has self-awareness. It doesn't run automatically. You stop and think and really go beyond the law of averages. You know, we're not like some countries are, like going to war and killing each other for what they think there's limited resources or thinking that this land belongs to them. It belongs to the universal mind, which is a part of us. So basically belongs to everybody. But they're lost within the realm of ego and outside of me, versus ego and the alter ego, which is a part of me. It's just a different expression of me. It's spirit in a new form, in a different form than myself, at either a higher or a lower level of intelligence. Okay, if the person is self-aware and they manifest just like me and you, we're at the same level of manifestation. Okay, we may have different levels of frequencies in terms of whatever it is that we want, whatever we're manifesting. Different cars, different homes, so we have different frequencies, but we are the same intelligence. Seeing the ego and the alter ego. It just sucks for people who don't live this way. People who live in the ego versus alter ego. No, the ego versus everything that's outside of them, something outside of them, versus the ego and everything outside of me is similar to me, just different form of expression. Okay. And so going through that understanding and the creation of the universe by some intelligence, because we can see that everything we discover, different laws, law of gravity, law of cause and effect, and how nature operates and how everything is connected, we know that there's some type of intelligence that created this. It's just obvious, okay? It's not random. Everything has its parts, okay? And how does everything stay in shape in its form, okay? There's an intelligence, okay? Now, since spirit is intelligence and it creates form, here's a formula he shares. Spirit is non-physical, so spirit needs nothing to create something because it's in everything, okay? It doesn't need anything to create. It's just an expression. Form is an expression of intelligence. All right, let's share a quote. Let me read a quote. Okay, here we go. If we were to conceive of the primordial substance as something apart from spirit, then we should have to postulate some other power which is neither spirit nor matter and originates both. But this is only putting the idea of a self-evolving power a step farther back and asserting the production of a lower grade of undifferentiated spirit by a higher. So now we're talking about two different types of spirits. If we think that spirit was created by another form of spirit, but then it wouldn't be all. It wouldn't be the all. Okay, so that's out of the picture, which is both a purely gracious assumption and a contradiction of any idea we can form of the originating starting point. We cannot avoid the conclusion that at that point, spirit contains the primary substance in itself. Okay. Which brings us back to the common statement that it made everything out of nothing. We must find two factors to the making of all things, spirit and nothing. And the addition of nothing to spirit leaves only spirit. Okay. See, here's the quote that I really want to share. If we were to conceive of the primordial substance, the space in the nebula, the incandescent nebula,
If we were to conceive of the primordial substance as something apart from spirit, then we should have to postulate some other power which is neither spirit nor matter and originates both. But this is only putting the idea of a self-evolving power a step further back and asserting the production of a lower grade of undifferentiated spirit by a higher. Okay. If spirit didn't create the things that we can't see, the radio waves, the gamma rays, sounds, the nebula, and light and incandescent light, something else had to create it. What else created it? Because we know spirit and intelligence eventually manifests when this incandescent cloud and light becomes a solar system and creates bacteria and the lower forms of life. We eventually see intelligence, and it evolves and it evolves and it evolves and evolves to where we have a point of our creation, okay, of self-awareness. Okay. Because if it was a spirit that created the non-physical and the physical things in the physical universe, if it was a spirit and that intelligence that we see in all life, then something else created it. But that's just postulating that there's another form of spirit creating spirit and creating the physical. Okay, that, like Thomas Shore said, that's a kind thought. But it means everything is separated. No, it's not separated. Intelligence is within form and within intelligent living form. Okay, very intelligent living form. Let me say very intelligent because everything that has a form, there's intelligence in it. Okay, and so intelligence creates things. And so when we begin to visualize and affirm, and what we focus on, in other words, what we focus on, we begin to move the lower forms, okay, of spirit, of intelligence to our will. It must. It's just the way it operates. Okay? That's how the physical world operates. It must bend to intelligent will. And you do this by holding on to the thing that you want with repetition, over and over and over and over. That's why I said the quote, what you focus on is what you get. I love what my man, what's his name, Dan Bilzerian said. If you say women don't like you because you're short or whatever, that's going to be true for you. Every human being, every intelligent being that focuses on an assumption, okay, be it good or positive, okay, good or negative, positive or negative, okay, according to you, it's true for you. He says, hey, if you say that, it's true for you. But that same operation of intelligence, higher modes of intelligence control the lower modes of intelligence, works for the positive. If you say, man, women pursue me, women love me, I'm always around beautiful women, I'm always surrounded by beautiful women, it's going to be true. And you focus on that, it's going to be true. The higher mode of intelligence controls the lower mode of intelligence. I'm going to repeat it again. The higher mode of intelligence controls the lower. And everything is intelligent. Atoms have intelligence moving them. And it's just a lower mode of intelligence. Okay? They don't have free will. They're just operating to maintain that sun, that rock, this Nike sandal. But there had to be an intelligence that wanted to form it. Okay? So what is it that you are focusing on? What assumption are you holding on to and focusing on to manifest your dream life? Because this is why I do this shit. So that you can have your dream life. Hey, Papa. Aw, he left. He got too hot probably. He was sitting down here. Nice and warm now. You'll get it. You'll get it. That's why I had to go through coaches. Bob Proctor coaching. Hannah Chan. I don't know where she's at, but she taught me on Tommy Sales. Aries. Dating, Dan Bilzerian, dating, Andrew Tate,
like business stuff all this stuff goes back to assumptions. What are you affirming? You got to affirm. An affirmation is an assumption of what you desire, already done, right? If you're sick, you say I'm healthy. If you're weak, you say I'm strong. If you have pains, you say my whatever feels amazing. It's strong, healthy, it feels amazing. If you don't have love, you say I have love. I love myself. Whatever you don't have, you assume that you have it. And that's by affirming it through a statement. I love a quote I have in my book, Goal Driven by William Shakespeare. Assume the habit if you have it not. Assume the habit if you have it not. No. Assume the virtue if you have it not. Assume the virtue if you have it not. So assume whatever it is that you want to take in. He was talking about, I think and that part was somebody who I think was cheating, was getting with like a married man. I forget the context of it, but he's telling I think his aunt in that story. William Shakespeare's character is telling the person, assume the virtue, right? Assume the virtue of being a good person. And abstain from, being with a married man or married person. It might be hard now, but in time, it will become like nature. It'll be your own nature. That's what law of assumption is. That's what Neville Goddard is talking about. This is what Thomas Troward is talking about. You affirm something, and circumstance will mold itself. It'll mold itself to your will. Life is just a simulation of our assumptions. Okay? If you don't have money, affirm I have more than enough money to buy everything that I want and need. Buy things that will make you feel rich. It's the feeling that's important. It's the feeling that's important. Okay? And we'll get into that in his book, but this is more diving into frequencies and the way you're vibrating, because the universe responds to frequency, which is a result of your affirmation and what you're focusing on. You say something over and over and over and over and over again, you start to believe it, okay? You start to believe it. You say something over and over and over again, you start to believe it. And when you fuse with that belief, okay, now you believe it, you feel it to be true because you believe it, you feel it to be true. That's the most important feeling that Neville Goddard talks about. To feel the feeling of the wish fulfilled means feel it to be true already. And then when you believe that assumption, you believe that visualization process, because you've done it. When you do it multiple times. You do it over and over again until you feel satiated. It's like when you're eating, you don't just take a bite and like, okay, whatever. No, your body needs like 2,000 calories on average. That's just a guideline. So more or less 2,000 calories. One bite is like 10 calories. All right. So you eat your meal, which is 500 calories, more or less, and then you feel satiated, at least for that meal. So when you meditate and you go to the mental gym and start visualizing, okay, and you're in this visualization meditation, you feel your soul, okay? Because your higher self is speaking to you and telling you what you want, okay? When it tells you do not want something, it's also telling you what you do want, okay? They're connected. Okay, and then you repeat it, or you see it and you see it and you see it and you see it and you see it for that time where you're visualizing or you're affirming until you feel full. You're like, and now you've hit the feeling of the wish fulfilled. You focused on it. Okay, you focus on it and you get it. When you focus on it, what you get, what you believe to be true, what you focus on, it'll be true for you. Okay, and there you go. Okay. Hope you like this one. I feel called to share this. If you want me to help you, I've started a coaching program, a 3-step coaching program. I'm gonna help you know what you want. Maybe you already know what you want, okay? Fine. We'll go on to the next step, okay? We'll go on to the next step and help you see yourself with it. So I'll help you with the affirmation, the visualization process, okay? Because that's all you need, Okay, but I think most people get into trouble or have problems in the in between. Okay, where the universe works for you. You need to stay in a positive frequency. So there's different things that you can do to stay in a positive frequency, such as gratitude, such as working out, such as certain self-reflective questions. Okay, what do I need to believe in order to have this experience? If you're triggered, and change the belief, and then go on to your day and get on a flow state, not overthink, and get into a flow state and allow the universe to bring that stuff to you, and allow yourself to take the right actions. Any action is right as long as you're in a positive frequency. So you need to stay in a positive state, in a state of joy. And that's just the patient period, the period where you're waiting patiently, the waiting patiently period. Not with frustration, but with confidence. Okay, so if you want me to help you, click the link below. It's a calendar link for coaching with me, Miguel Martinez Juarez. Okay, I hope you like this one. Until next time, peace. Make sure to subscribe, to like, comment, so you can stay up to date for the next episode of going through Thomas Troward's next chapter of the Edinburgh Lectures.